How often do you think about the Oscars? About how many Oscar-winning films there are and how many you've seen? Yeah, there's a few famous Oscar-winning films that we've all seen. You know, The Godfather and Lord of the Rings and Titanic. I'm King of the World, all that stuff. But the Oscars have been running since 1927. There are currently over 1,000 films, feature-length films, which have won an Oscar. How many have you seen? I did the numbers for myself. It's not many, and I consider myself quite a movie buff. So here then is the premise of this podcast. Every episode, I and a rotating cast of 2 guests will randomly select one of the 1,000 films that have won an Oscar, watch it, and talk about it, with the only requirement being that one of the 3 people on each episode has to have never seen the movie before we talk about it. That will get difficult with Star Wars. Please note that our coverage of a movie does not constitute an endorsement of it. My least favorite movie of 2016, David Ayer's Suicide Squad, won an Oscar for Best Makeup, while my favorite movie of 2016, The Handmaiden, wasn't even nominated for anything. Please also note that our coverage of a movie is not a blanket endorsement of any or all of the people involved in it. A lot of terrible people have won Oscars. Kevin Spacey won an Oscar 20 years before he was outed as an abuser, and Roman Polanski won one 20 years after. But every film, good, bad, or in many cases mediocre, that has won an Oscar is an important part of film history just for being there. And they all, on some level, deserve a tiny bit of consideration, even if that consideration ends up concluding that it's garbage. And with all of that in mind, I'm your host, Ellie McConaughey, and with me today is Liz.
Hi, everybody.
And Gillian.
Where there are leftists, there will be infighting. It's always been there.
Damn it, you beat me to the joke.
And we are here today to talk about Reds, the 1981 Warren Beatty epic that won Best Director, Best Supporting Actress, and Best Cinematography at the 54th Academy Awards.
All well-deserved, in my opinion, just to get that on.
As well as being nominated for every other fucking thing. Oh my god.
Why wasn't it nominated for picture?
It was.
Wait.
It was nominated for picture, actor, actress, supporting actor, screenplay, art direction, costume design, film editing, and sound.
Okay, I guess I'm just blind then, and I just didn't see it there. I was like, oh, Raiders is there. I don't know why Reds is there.
Yeah, no, but the movie that ended up winning that year, Chariots of Fire, which makes me wonder if there was a vote cancel out that happened, which could happen. Could it be the case?
So one of the things that's kind of like, I don't want to say that like this happens, but like there is a political, both in the actual like left versus right politics and a studio inside baseball angle to a lot of who wins what at the Oscars. It's one of the things that makes it kind of interesting. You know, I've been telling people like if Netflix has a brain in their head, which okay, maybe they don't, they definitely won't be nominating more than one song from K-pop Demon Hunters this year, because their own, whatever you think of the movie, I will deal with it when we deal with it. It's definite, like if you get more than one song up there, you're gonna vote split like your name's Enchanted.
However, 2 years ago, we saw that proven or jost when there were 2 songs from Barbie nominated, and What Was I Made For still ended up winning.
Well, that's just because they were going to vote for something else, and then they had a gun to the back of their head, because it turns out you actually can't not vote for Billie Eilish when she's up. Like, it's just illegal.
Oh, okay. I'm going to say this, as much as I like that song, I really think I'm Just Ken should have won.
Because he's just Ken.
Anywhere else
he'd be a
So, I have a cat named Sam, and we will sing to him, or more accurately, I will. My husband just looks at me like, okay. But I will sing, you're just Sam, and you're all, like, and you're always a 10.
Legally, when you have a pet, you are required to sing silly little made-up songs to them. This, again, just the law. But anyway, we are here today to talk about leftist infighting the movie.
If I had a nickel for every movie this Oscar season that had Emma Goldman.
Yeah, because Ragtime, the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 1902, father built a house on this.
The other but quick summary of this movie is, girl, he does not deserve you.
Yeah, John Reed, kind of a fuckboy.
He's married to the cause.
He's married to the cause, but also, like, I don't know. There's that one bit where she's at, like, the State Department after he gets, like, captured in Finland, where she's like, we need to bring him back, he has one kidney, and, like, he knew that when he left illegally to go to Finland, and then she travels for 6 months to go find him. Insane that she did that.
Well, in her, and I will say this, as I don't want to assume for Gillian, but as a woman who is in a heterosexual relationship, and while I'm open to everybody, I tend to skew men/mask. The bar's really low for men, and if you find one that's decent, you're gonna do a lot for them.
I'm in a do we call this a heterosexual relationship? It is a man and a woman.
I mean,
We're both bisexual and polyamorous, and also both of us are transgender, so sure. He's a good guy, I like him.
Yeah, well, I know, I love my husband entirely. As I say for everyone I love, I'd destroy the bullet farm for you. I know it didn't turn out well, but the thought is there. It's the thought that counts.
I love your husband too, non-sexually or romantically.
But yeah, no, like the bar for cis hetero men is really low. So when you find one that's even halfway decent, you are going to go to the ends of the earth for him.
Fair. And he is, like, an interesting dude. I'll give him that.
That's actually, to give like a real, my first, not critique, but like, because I saw this movie. I mean, Ellie has known me for over a decade, and she has seen how my politics evolve, but I've been at least liberal since, like, high school. And this is a movie that I feel like I should have seen so much earlier in my life. I didn't actually see it until about 7-ish years ago when a now defunct podcast, 80s All Over, which is a fantastic podcast if you ever want to listen to a movie that really goes into cinema of the 80s and not just the 15 movies everyone references.
Mm-hmm.
But it finally inspired me, like, I really should watch this movie. And one of the things I appreciated about it was Warren Beatty, despite being the star, despite this being his passion project, was not willing to make a hagiography of John Reed. He basically, he knows this guy was kind of an asshole. He was charismatic, he was devoted, but he's annoying, and he annoys a lot of people, and he gets on other people's nerves. It's almost like he realizes, hey, wait a minute, he's a real human being. And Warren Beatty is of the new Hollywood era as well, where that was a great time to make morally complicated and nuanced portrayals of people. So it's actually something I loved about this movie, was like, yeah, he's our main character, but you're watching this, and half the time you're like, this guy's kind of a dick. I can see why people are mad at him a lot.
This was actually my first time seeing this. I think
this was also my first time seeing this, so.
I mean, that's sort of like half the point of the pod. It's, this is my podcast remains a machine that turns, oh yeah, I've been meaning to watch that. Oh yeah, I've seen that. I can make that the tagline. But I did find it kind of I feel like with hagiographies or just like biopics of dudes who weren't always the best, because like a lot of famous dudes weren't always the best.
What? Sorry. It's like, what? They're not.
That, like, you end up with this, like, complete unwillingness to talk about it. Like, I remember the Elvis biopic that came out a couple years ago. It's just like, it's one of those biopics of Elvis that is really hoping you don't do the math on how old Priscilla Presley was when they got together.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can give a little bit of a pass to Elvis because Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, number one, it's Baz Luhrmann. You're not looking for anything super deep.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a movie that is more about the spectacle of Elvis, and so I'm like, well, yeah, it makes sense it's not going to delve into who he truly was as a person, versus then we have, the same year we had Priscilla.
I'm not even necessarily saying that that's a bad approach to take. I'm just saying, like, the general approach is, if the hero of the movie is a real person that you're doing a biopic of, you end up a little fawning. You kind of have to be. You kind of have to be really into a person to want to do
a biopic about them, and I genuinely really like there's a scene at the end where Emma Goldman's character basically tells him straight to his face, like, bestie, she can come get you and ruin her life for that. You need to leave her alone.
Mm-hmm.
She does use the word bestie. For those of you who haven't seen it.
Emma, I'm going to say this, clearly she won the Academy Award, it makes sense, but Maureen Stapleton as Emma Goldman is this film's MVP, and if there really was any award this movie should have won, it was her Oscar, and rightfully so.
Mm-hmm. I also quite liked Jack Nicholson in this movie. I mean, he's doing kind of an Urtext Jack Nicholson performance, but as I said on Letterboxd, I feel like Jack Nicholson walking into your house, demanding alcohol, and then critiquing your acting is like a stress dream for most actors.
Back to the biopic. I think don't you also have to go through the estate to that house to what is my I guess depending on the
it kind of depends.
Yes and no. I remember fairly recently when Ava DuVernay made Selma, I think she wanted to get the rights to his speeches, but since Selma acknowledged some of the the parts of Martin Luther King where it's like, again, this guy was a human being. He was a great fighter for civil rights, economic justice. He was anti-war. He also was not faithful to Coretta. And Selma acknowledged that. And it's never been confirmed by DuVernay, but I think everyone assumes / knows that the reason she didn't get the rights to his actual words were because she's like, no, I'm not going to shy away from that aspect of who he was.
Mm-hmm. And, John Reed was a journalist, so a lot of his work is probably going to be in the public domain already. He also didn't really have an estate. He died in poverty in the Soviet Union in the 1920s. Like
a true leftist, we all die poor.
We all die fucking flat broke. Donate to the Patreon. I haven't got set up for this podcast yet, I guess. Contact me with those Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship deals. No, don't actually. That my dignity is cheap, but it's not that cheap.
Jane Schoenbrunn, hire Ellie McConaughey.
Jane Schoenbrunn, be my friend. I just want to hang out with them.
Speaking of leftists, I feel the same way about Maddie Lubchansky. I just want to hang out with her forever.
Exactly. So, they probably didn't have to do too much work for it. I don't know. I assume at this point, I know 10 Days That Shocked the World is definitely in the public domain. Honestly, can you imagine, even outside of having to go to the estate, can you imagine fucking pitching this movie to people? Yeah, man, it's going to be a 3-hour and 15-minute biopic of a communist journalist in 1981. We don't get to Russia, where he did his most famous event, until an hour and a half into the movie. And also, it's going to cost $12 million more than Raiders of the Lost Ark.
It's a miracle it got made. I mean, whenever people say, oh, you couldn't make that movie today, they're usually trying to make a comment about wokeness or PC culture, whatever the word they're throwing around now is. But if we want to talk about movies that would not get made by a major studio today, it's this film. I mean, Martin Scorsese, I think he barely got Killers of the Flower Moon made. And he's Martin Scorsese. Today, no studio would look at this movie and say, yes. And I mean, this movie doesn't even have a good 4K edition, but Paramount has the rights, so I'm not holding my breath on that, sadly.
Criterion. Come on, baby.
Criterion, or just someone, Synapse, Vinegar Syndrome, Arrow. There's a lot of good boutique Blu-ray people.
This is the second movie in the last 8 weeks that I've seen where I'm just sitting there going hey, let's get a good Blu-ray going. I want a good Blu-ray copy of Marjo. Let's go.
Oh, I was about to say, was the other one The Devils? Because that's been my wish for 15 years.
I don't think The Devils won any Oscars, did it?
It didn't.
You did Black Narcissus, and that's basically the same.
I got a Blu-ray of Black Narcissus.
I don't know. Someone at Warner Brothers absolutely hates The Devils and is still keeping that under lock and key. I need to find them and speak to them.
It's honestly rude. The Devils kind of fucks.
Kind of.
Devils does indeed fuck.
Okay, it absolutely fucks. It's the point of the...
This movie does not actually fuck all that much, by which I mean there's no sex on screen.
The sex is implied. There is also a boudoir shot of Diane. of Diane Keaton in that art gallery?
There is. Also, I would like everyone. You two are my witnesses. I did not pick this movie after Diane Keaton died. I picked this movie back in August.
I was about to say, I went back in our chat and I'm like, yeah, it was like August 28th or something. You're like, Liz, do you want to do Reds? And I was like, do I?
Peek behind the curtains. I generate movies like 8 weeks in advance.
We all work. We can't do this stuff on a whim.
Yeah, I have a fucking job. No, I had points I actually wanted to go. I do love the... So I don't think I'm going to be shocking anyone in this call, or indeed anyone in the audience, when I say the 1980s were not a great time to be a leftist.
Mm-mm.
But I do love how, like, unabashedly political half the shit that goes down in this movie is. It is an unfortunately extremely good look at actually being a leftist.
Yep.
By which I mean the left-wing party the left-wing half of the Socialist Party takes over the party chair, and they immediately void the election, and in response the other people left split into two different parties.
Yep.
A plus.
Yeah, this is like the most accurate point of this movie, and I guess it's a little weird to say the most accurate as it's based on like real people, but just like, yeah, oh boy, this movie gets that we cannot get our shit together.
I was personally like, I knew, so I'm gonna show my hand here and say I was not that big. I did not know that much about John Reed aside from I read 10 Days That Shocked the World back in like college.
You miss Teapot Dome scandal? Really?
I mean, I know about the Teapot Dome scandal.
You have everything I have learned about the Teapot Dome scandal is from you.
Yes, Liz, I'm a crazy person. We know this. I didn't know much about John Reed, the person. I've read some of his writings, was my point. So I knew conceptually that he, like, died in Russia after the, that was the, I don't think they name it in the film, but that was the, Congress of the Peoples of the East, right? He was at?
Yeah.
I think so.
I'm showing that I'm a political nerd. I'm sorry. So I knew conceptually that he died after being at that, like, meeting, but I didn't know that he wound up in Russia.
It was Congress of the Peoples of the East.
Sweet. I love being right about stuff. I didn't know that he'd gotten stuck in Russia in the Soviet Union because he decided he was going to go to ask them to legitimize his party. I'm just sitting here going like, who gives a fuck, man? Who gives a fuck what the fucking Soviet Union says about your political party? Idiot.
You were talking earlier about Warren Beatty, and it was his passion project, but I think every Warren Beatty film is his passion project.
Yep.
He doesn't do non-passion projects.
Or at least he treats everything like he puts his whole
heart,
his whole soul into his project, and I love that for him. I love that he's still sitting on those Dick Tracy rights.
Well, speaking of, like, I watched Dick Tracy within the past couple of years, and I'm
good
like,
movie, right?
Yeah, this is actually really good. He is, again, it's something, and I am not going to sit here and go, oh, there's no great filmmakers today. There clearly are. As I mentioned earlier, Jane Schoenbrunn, Rose Glass, Guillermo del Toro is out there. Martin Scorsese is still making movies. Sean Baker is out there. Like, there are a lot of filmmakers still who are putting their hearts and souls into these movies, but I think when we're seeing a lot of what's being put out there by the studios, it's just nostalgia and sequels and, repackaged stuff that we already know. To watch a movie like this it's a breath of fresh air, because again, it's this would never get made today. Holy shit. Unless, like, I don't know, if Ryan Murphy decided to make it, which, dear God, no. I really hope I have not just spoken some evil into the ether.
Hell is so hot, Ryan Murphy. But also, no, this is not nearly lurid enough for his vibe.
Wait until there's another true crime case. Wait till there's another true crime case that he could make erotica of.
Horrifying sentence, Gillian. Thank you.
That's what I'm here for.
When will he be stopped? He can't keep getting away with this.
It's actually interesting because, like, it's directed by Warren Beatty in addition to starring him, and, like, my head, Warren Beatty is, like, almost as much a director as he is an actor. he only directed like 4 or 5 movies. Like this, Heaven Can Wait, Dick Tracy, Bullworth of all things, and some movie I'd never heard of until I saw it on his IMDb. Rules Don't Apply.
Yeah, that is about, I think it's about Howard Hughes and was universally panned. And I don't believe he's made or even started another movie. I mean, he is getting up there, and from what I've heard, he's actually not in the best health now. So, I mean, back to Diane Keaton, RIP. I believe I told you when that happened, I'm like, I'm actually very surprised that she went before both Nicholson and Beatty.
I mean, Beatty is an incredibly famous actor, but he also didn't act like in films all that often. Like he, you look at someone who has been acting from between 1961 and 2016, and you expect like 60, 70 movies in there. He's got what, like 20, 25?
Mhm.
I don't know. That is interesting that he picks his roles that carefully. I guess not including like he still with Madonna when she did her first documentary? Am I misremembering?
Wait, he dated Madonna?
He dated Madonna.
Yeah, well, I learn something new every day.
I don't. Madonna's one of those people who I'm like. I love telling people about her romantic history. Like, yeah, she dated Sean Penn. We don't talk about that one, and then
Well, I was actually saying, because
Why don't we talk about that one?
we should. Well, because I mean, we've all, I assume, seen One Battle After Another. Speaking of movies where leftists, actually, no. Leftists do kind of have their shit together in that movie, and that's why it's so unrealistic.
Benicio del Toro has his shit together, and he's very tired. That's very realistic. We don't talk about Sean Penn because he beat her.
Well, but I was saying, like, I hate that Sean Penn is number one so good in this movie, and number two, the front runner for Best Supporting Actor, because I'm like, we don't talk about the fact that he beat the hell out of Madonna, like, when he dated her. We should really be speaking about this more.
Then she dated Warren Beatty. We love Warren Beatty. Angelina Jolie's ex-girlfriend was apparently her booty call for, like, most of the 90s, which... Jenny Shimizu, you were too fucking cool to live.
Ellie, I'm gonna need to see like a Pepe Sylvia board style, like of.
I got boxes full of Pepe. Liz, at any given moment of my life, I need you to imagine that is what's happening in my brain. I have connected 2 dots.
You didn't connect shit.
Connected them.
But you connected them.
I did connect them. No, like. My point is that Warren Beatty is very... It's impressive that he's so careful with picking his roles, which is why it's also impressive that he has a couple of, like, real stinkers in there. Like, Rules Don't Apply does not apparently get very good reviews. There's Ishtar, which was his next movie after this. 6 years after this. Oh my god.
Oh, wow.
Act more, Warren. Please. I don't know. It's an interestingly directed movie. I was not prepared to suddenly see just like we're gonna have old people give you, famous old people, though they're never named in the films, give you history lessons on the actual like events that were being depicted.
I loved that though. I actually thought that was a really innovative addition to the movie.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'm almost like, it's not something that would fit for every movie, especially not every historical epic, but for this one, considering the focus, despite the fact that it's about him writing the book 10 Days That Shook the World and about very, events that had very, like, global repercussions, it's still a fairly intimate story, so I really liked that. Again, I thought the interviews added another aspect to it, and again, it made it more personal rather than just a history lesson.
What's interesting to me is, like, you're right, it is this extremely global story, and John Reed is a famous person. He wrote a famous book, he did famous things, but what strikes me about the whole thing is, like, I feel like more than most, the subject of most biographies like this, he didn't actually accomplish basically anything. He spends the entire first third of the movie, arguing to keep America out of World War One. Well, look what that happened. Look how that worked out.
We did get into World War One.
Woodrow Wilson just lied to people's fucking faces. And, then he wrote very positively. He and He and his wife both wrote very positively about the Soviet Union trying to keep the US from fucking with him, and the US spent the next 70 years fucking with him, except for that brief period where we were allies. We were still kind of fucking with them, but not as much. We like America likes underdog stories is the joke, because we like seeing someone fight back against impossible odds. But I feel like more than a lot of biopics, this movie kind of reminds you that like underdogs don't actually win all that much.
Nope. Well, I was about to say, like, speaking of the Academy Awards, there was an underdog story about, what was it, 5 years prior, Rocky.
Yeah.
No, I feel like a lot of people, when they talk about that movie, yes, it's an underdog story, but they forget that Rocky does not win the fight at the end of that film.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's still less of a downer ending than the ending of Reds. The ending of Reds is like, oof, all right.
Yeah. Rocky isn't a downer ending. He went the distance, if nothing else.
Yeah.
He went and flew now.
He did go and fly now, and then he got to star in, oh god, how many is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Couple spin-offs.
Those Creed movies are actually pretty good. I'll go to bat for the first 2.
What is it? 7 movies of wildly varying quality?
Okay, speaking of the Soviet Union, Rocky 4 is a classic, and I watch it on the 4th of July and Christmas. How dare you?
I like Hearts on Fire. That's
Yes!
What's your favorite part about the robot that occupies Polly?
No, the best part of the movie is actually the fact that there is like 6 montages in that film. That movie is 20% montage. It's amazing.
It and no doubt future episode Flashdance, huh?
Yep.
Ah.
We are wildly off topic, she says, like we ever managed to stay on topic.
I forgot Pennies from Heaven was this Oscar season.
Yeah, the 54th is I wouldn't say that it's an odd year, actually. It is a reasonably, we've got a couple of like goddamned Hollywood royalty in the actor and actress categories. Katharine Hepburn, Henry Fonda, my god. And John Gielgud, oh my god.
And Meryl, my god.
Yeah. You know what? I haven't seen it, but the movie that won Best Foreign Language actually looks really interesting.
Oh, is that Mephisto?
That is Mephisto.
So Mephisto is good.
Okay.
Can confirm.
I will keep that in mind. We got Raiders. Hey, this was the year that Best Makeup was invented. Let's go! I saw American Werewolf in London at my local art house theater, which is actually where I met Liz. And since that day, she has never known peace.
I love you. You be quiet.
Love you too, Liz. I saw American Werewolf in London at that theater, like a 35mm screening, and when John Baker's credit came up, the everyone in the audience just started clapping.
Oh yeah,
or Rick Baker rather.
Yeah.
Sorry, not John.
Well, yeah, the whole reason Best Makeup exists is because of him. And last year or this year technically for the Oscars, that I was like, if The Substance does not win, that will be the most concrete example I could ever point to of horror bias in the Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully it won. I think even the Academy's like, how can we not vote for this? Jesus Christ.
I think that they went, okay, we'll vote for it if you don't make us watch that final scene again.
I will watch that final scene forever. I love the monster hero.
Melissa Sue, my beloved.
She is my co-pilot.
So the 54th Academy Awards, the big winner was Chariots of Fire, which is a movie that I have also never seen. Tell a lie, I've seen the first 20 minutes. I found it excruciating to sit through.
I know the song.
Yeah. So, as someone who again, Eddie's all over, I'm like, fine, I'll watch it. It is not a bad movie. I put it in the same category as The King's Speech, where it is a very nice, very inoffensive, serviceable movie about mainly British people that ended up losing out to far more daring and better films that year, and definitely films that stood the test of time more so than the winner. And if we're talking about The King's Speech, that was the year we had Black Swan, we had The Social Network, we had Coen Brothers' True Grit. And who ends up winning is The King's Speech, and Tom Hooper won Best Director, which, Ellie, if The King's Speech is up, you've got to have me on so I can talk about...
We've Never Known Peace.
I have a whole list of movies where if I roll them, I'm like, well, I gotta at Liz.
Liz has got it. But again,
Winter's Bone was that year.
Winter's Bone,
Dang.
yes.
That was a good movie.
Another fantastic movie. But yeah, like this year were a lot of really good either groundbreaking or just real films that have kind of stood the test of time came out, and what wins a very bland, forgettable British film. This is why I can't when people are like, "Oh, the Oscars suck. I can't believe what they're doing." I'm like, come on, The Shape of Water won Best Picture. A woman fucks a sea god in that movie. The Oscars have definitely improved since previous years.
And that previous year, Suicide Squad won an
Yeah, I mean, I will understand, at least for the crocodile head, I'm like, okay, I can see why for that. But I still think that Star Trek movie probably should have won overall. But I'm like, yeah, the guy for the croc makeup was pretty impressive. And, sometimes the movie itself doesn't have to be good. It just has to excel in the category it's nominated for.
Much like a big winner at the Oscars, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Most editing does not equal best editing.
Ellie, I'm not on camera, but I'm sure you can just imagine the look I'm giving the computer.
Oh, I know that look well. No, the point I guess I'm making is like, this is, if I actually had to pick an Urtext Oscar year, I could do a lot worse than the 54th. I feel like, you're right that the Oscars have gotten a lot better about awarding movies that are
Good.
maybe not always good, but more interesting.
Well, they ebb and flow, because keep in mind, we're about 10 years out from Silence of the Lambs sweeping, which a horror movie sweeping the Oscars, unheard of now.
Mm-hmm. Although, we did still have Green Book.
Ugh.
The real Green Book's the racism we cured along the way. I will never not bring. I didn't find out about that song, the fake Green Book credits song, until after I recorded my episode. So I will never be able to bring up Green Book without talking about the Green Book end credits song. But but I think when like people think of the Oscars as like this boring, kind of stuffy kind of institution that awards movies that aren't interesting, I think that years like this, or maybe the King's Speech year, are what people are thinking of.
Mm.
They're just like, I'm sure Chariots of Fire is a perfectly fine movie. I had a lot less patience for movies. I did not, at that point in my life, I still didn't think Jerry was a good movie. Ellie says, madness in her eyes.
Well, it's or similar to, there's a lot of people who think of the prior year, when Ordinary People won, and because Raging Bull was the other big film nominated that year, they're like, well, Ordinary People sucks. And I'm like, no, go watch Ordinary People. It's also a very good film. Would I say it's as good as Raging Bull? No, but on its own merits, Ordinary People, I think, is a really good movie.
Our one real chance to get David Lynch an Oscar, and they just missed it. You hurt me, Academy. You hurt me every day. I say voluntarily doing a podcast about you.
I mean, again, hey, last year we ate pretty well. An independently animated movie won Best Animated Feature. The Substance won for makeup. Anora swept. I'm like, I'm a happy girl over here.
They did award a lot more interesting movies. We'll see how Sinners does this year. But I guess my point is like, it's similar to what people think of when they think of like, I have found this sort of like, with anything over like say a decade old, unless you're actively seeking out information about it, you end up with this very flattened, not at all really representative image of that thing in your mind. The example I use a lot is, someone messaged me on Tumblr one time when I made a crack about Seinfeld. They always thought that Seinfeld was kind of like a very clean, a very non-sexual, childish show. And I'm sitting there thinking like, they had an episode about who could go the longest without jerking off. Like, it won an Emmy
for that episode.
Yes,
and we are recording in the end of October, so.
I was about to see.
I'm sorry.
So I'm about 6 months out from 40. I remember being a teen, maybe even a preteen, and seeing ads for syndication of Seinfeld on my local station. the promo they would always use was Kramer coming in, slamming the money on the counter, going, I'm out of the contest. Like, they use that to promote the show, and I did not know what it was, but people who watched the show absolutely knew.
So I guess my point is that, like, if someone was looking to sort of like take an image of the Oscars that awarded movies that didn't stand the test of time, and like the thing is, arguably, even though I don't think I would be breaking too many hearts, and I say I think Reds is probably a better film than Chariots of Fire.
Oh, yeah.
I think Chariots of Fire has accidentally lasted in the public consciousness better than Reds, purely off of that fucking song that is the only thing anyone seems to know from that movie.
Well, that's an interesting thing, because it's not the movie itself anyone remembers. It's almost sort of how a lot of things now get reduced to just a meme.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of reduced to a meme or a reference almost instantaneously, but I feel like there's almost been a resurgence of Reds in the past couple years. I think because there's I can't imagine what has led a lot of people to start really looking into class consciousness again. But I think there have been people who've started to discover this movie and go like, oh, this is really good.
Gillian.
Yes?
So, I mean, and that does happen with a lot of films. Like, stuff falls out of the public consciousness and then comes back.
Gillian actually sent me a tweet while we were chatting about this movie. What did it say?
I'm gonna pull this up right. Hold on, bada bing, bada boom. Seeing a lot of, I should finally see Reds on the timeline. And you're right, you should watch Reds. It rocks.
Yay!
From Kyle. Yeah.
Part of the reason I wanted to do this podcast is because, like, no matter how many of these movies I thought I've seen, I actually haven't seen that high a percentage of Oscar-winning movies. Although I will say, once I saw Green Book, I have officially seen every Best Picture winner since I was born, which I did. I've now seen them all. Sure saw Green Book.
That's a movie that exists.
Sure was a series of moving images. So, like, this is definitely this. I've had a few movies recently where I'm just like, man, I'm real fucking glad I'm watching new. This was one of them. Marjo was one of them. Sound of Metal last year. I'm really glad I finally saw that. So I do think people should see this. It is daunting. Like, when I saw that, I announced the movie and then I went, oh, that runtime is
It is.
Yeah, but hey, there is a Paul Thomas Anderson movie that's almost 3 hours long that has made over $100 million $150 million worldwide right now. So I'm like, people are okay with long run times.
This one also has an intermission, which is important.
Mm-hmm.
People need to rediscover intermissions.
How long was that Dune movie? Those two Dune movies? They're kind of long.
They're on the long side.
I feel like if my husband hears me say that too loud, a divorce might happen. He loves Dune the way I have been hyped for Wicked, so...
Who can say if I've been changed? Anyway.
Speaking of musicals, Stephen Sondheim wrote like 2 minutes of music for this movie.
He did.
Again, the early 80s were a truly insane time for film, because it was... When people in the podcast 80s all over kind of goes into this, when people think of 80s movies, they think that 1980 hit and immediately we just became the 80s, when in reality it took a lot longer for stuff to kind of turn over. And for the first almost 3 years, there was a lot of 70s runoff, and Stephen Sondheim doing music for a movie like this, that's a very 70s thing.
Because he'd recently done Savitsky. Or not recently, but last movie he did was, at least he's fully Savitsky. Okay, sounds about right. I'm gonna, hold on, bada bing, bada boom. I'm gonna, yes, Savitsky. That was 71, I think.
Okay.
Maybe, no, 74.
Okay. The point I was gonna make is that, like, the premise that, like, they turned on MTV and everything immediately changed. Nirvana releases Smells Like Teen Spirit and everything immediately changes. That's never, like, how anything actually works. It's just kind of like, it's how we remember things in hindsight. And what's interesting about the 80s is, like, I feel like if you look at the above the line winners in a lot of category, if you compare the Oscars to the movies people remember from the 80s, I feel like those are different lists if you look at the above the line categories. You know, you don't see most of the movies that people remember of the, it's maybe Amadeus.
Oh, even Terms of Endearment is a movie that I think I've said before. I'm like, remember, Terms of Endearment was the second highest grossing film of 1983. The only film that bested it was Return of the Jedi, and this is a drama about a mother and daughter. If that movie were to come out today, it would be just relegated to Netflix and no one would see it.
Does anyone know what the highest grossing movie of 1987 was?
Wasn't it was it Beverly Hills Cop?
It was Three Men and a Baby.
Oh shit, you're right. No, Beverly Hills Cop was, maybe I was thinking of something else. Oh, Beverly Hills Cop was earlier. Maybe it was Beverly Hills Cop 2. But because I think I was thinking of the summer, but yeah, 3 Men and a Baby was 1987. Yeah, you're right.
My point was that like a lot of the stuff that we remember from the 80s didn't really hit in the Oscars, or even necessarily financially. Two of the most famous movies of 1982, Blade Runner and The Thing, totally flopped at the box office despite because God is dead and we're alone in an uncaring universe. John Carpenter died for our sins.
No, he's doing well. He's just playing video games, smoking pot, and having a great time. Let the man live.
His career died for our sins.
You know what? He does not seem upset, though.
He does seem a little upset about the critical reception the thing got.
But overall, he does not seem unhappy to not be making movies anymore. I think he's like, nah, this is fine.
This is fine. I'm fine. Okay, I guess Moonstruck and The Untouchables won supporting actor and supporting actress in 88. And if you don't remember Moonstruck, I don't want to be friends with you.
Moonstruck won Best Actress. This was such a...
Yeah!
Share!
We love Moonstruck.
Also, starring Ellie, just next month, you're gonna, for the program Nick Cage November, we're gonna be talking about what a smoke show he is in Moonstruck.
We're not talking about Moonstruck, though. We are talking about Reds. I just got us wildly off. My point was that, like, I do kind of want this kind of movie to get a resurgence. I hope that Hollywood is looking at the success of things like Sinners or maybe Conclave and thinking like, hey, maybe we can make movies for grown-ups again.
Exactly. Which is why I mean, or even something like Weapons and One Battle After Another. I'm like, no, the fact that these, or a few years earlier, Oppenheimer made almost $1 billion. And yes, it's Christopher Nolan, but still, a 3-hour biopic about the Manhattan Project is... I was even shocked by how much money that made. And again, it's just every now and then it's people do want to watch movies for adults. It's not all kid shit and remakes. Although, we had Furiosa last year and you all ignored it, you fucking monsters.
Cowards and fools.
How I feel that.
No, like, movies for adults, maybe, this movie didn't make a ton of money, or, to frame that a different way, it made a fairly healthy amount of money. It had a very large budget. And you can see it. It is an expensive-looking movie. That attack on the train car must have cost more than the budget of a lot of other movies nominated that year. Insane shit, Warren. Thank you.
Really out here doing the most.
Mm-hmm.
No, I can't find a word that I like. He puts his whole whatever into it. I can't find a combo of words that I like for that.
Bay Tussie? Sorry.
He put his whole red ass into it.
There we go. This one even pisses red.
Yeah, because he only has one kidney.
No, he still had both kidneys at that point. They took the other one out later.
Well, he had one kidney at some point.
So actually, I know we've been talking about Warren Beatty a lot, but I would like to just get back to Maureen Stapleton a little bit, because Emma Goldman is a really great and interesting figure, and I feel like she's been kind of forgotten to time it. Well, forgotten both, I mean, again, the way our history works in America, we try to downplay the achievements of anyone who's not a cis hetero white man, and women are often relegated to being like, oh, look what they did, isn't that cute? Or if they're too radical, that's not really covered. I think a very famous example of that is Helen Keller. We all know the story of her as a girl, but we don't hear about her being a socialist activist as an adult because we're like, oh no, she went too far left.
Liz, you probably should avoid finding out one of the main conspiracy theories that's running around TikTok.
I know that, and I want to hit people. The underlying, it's not even underlying, it's just very blatant ableism of there's no way a disabled person could do that. I'm like, yes, she had a teacher who helped her. That's how.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like there's a whole pop cultural osmosis story about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Emma Goldman is someone who really, I think, kind of got done dirty in a historical sense. I wouldn't be shocked if I remember hearing that she's actually more well known overseas than she is in the United States, and I'm like, that does not surprise me at all. But she was a real like rabble rouser for the time and a very strident woman. And I mean, Maureen Stapleton plays that very well, and not strident as in she's like a shrew with a rolling pin, but she's like, no, I have my piece. I'm going to say what I want to say, and I'm going to fight for my space here. And there's, one of her big causes is birth control, which, I mean, I have a whole tangent, I'll go on that in a second, but where they kind of bring up like, oh, is that really a thing to focus on? And she's like, women and people in general can't have freedom if they can't control when they get pregnant. We have to fight for this. And it's really, I mean, she had some views that a lot of people had at the time, like eugenics was something that a lot of people adhered to, and the actual genesis of eugenics was actually something almost, I don't want to say altruistic, but it came from this idea of, oh, healthy parents have healthy kids, this is a good idea. And then, of course, by the time it's a couple decades later, it's like, well, this is horrifying, Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
But because of her...
Real Nazi shit right away, yeah.
Exactly. But there's that Margaret Sanger as well. I'm even starting to see people on the right just say like, oh, the whole push for birth control, it was never about women's rights, it was about eugenics. And I'm like, that is absolutely not true. Women and other people fought for contraception because most people don't want to have a baseball team.
The two comments I have about that is I agree 100%. A core pillar of my political belief is if you don't own your body, you don't own anything.
Absolutely.
Second, you can tell that it's not eugenics, otherwise the right would be all for it.
Oh, snap! But yes.
So, like, Emma Goldman is in kind of one of those spots that's extremely difficult for an activist to be in, where she's too radical to be comfortably packaged into something that can be fed back to the masses, a la, where they can sand off the edges like they did with Martin Luther King and feed it, hack him down to a single quote and use that forever. But she's also like, she never took a shot at Andy Warhol, so she's not really like infamous in that way, in the way that Valerie Solanas is.
I was about to say, oh, she's not Valerie. Okay.
Yeah. To be clear, I do not approve of Valerie Solanas.
No.
She had a lot of shit going on, but people fucking know her name because she tried to shoot Andy Warhol, or she succeeded.
But it is this idea that I'm seeing with a lot of, I don't see it with a lot of leftists in real life. It's more the extremely online, like the people whose brains are cooked from just looking at other Twitter threads all day, where it's like, you need to acknowledge that a lot of these activists and the people that, really helped bring these movements forward, they are not going to have the same views that we do. And in fact, they had views that were wrong for the time.
Mm-hmm.
But we're all adults. We can, or Margaret Sanger is another very good example. Did she do a lot of very great things by starting Planned Parenthood? Yes. Did she have a lot of beliefs that were very ableist and classist? Also, yes. We can hold these two thoughts in our heads at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in this push to sanitize everything and everyone, we're losing, I don't want to sound silly, but it's almost like what makes us human, which is, look, we're not perfect. And in many cases, we are products of our time. And instead of just talking about it and saying, okay, what do we keep and what do we keep going forward with that's good and what do we leave in the past, we're just shutting out these people entirely from the history and from the conversation.
Speaking about someone we've been shutting out of conversation, how fucking good is Diane Keaton in this movie?
Yeah, oh god, she's so good.
So fucking good.
And I love Louis, she plays Louise Bryant. And I love her arc in this movie, how she kind of starts out not really quite having real politics. I mean, she has ideas and opinions, but there's that great moment where Emma Goldman asks her, like, okay, what do you do? What do you write about? And she's like, oh, I write about a lot of things. And she just looks at her like, oh, you have no idea what you really believe yet, do you?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where she is in life at that moment. It's true, but she kind of starts to, and I like that the movie does not tell it as like John Reed single-handedly changed her life and made her political. It's more by being around these people and observing them and talking to them, she was able to hone her own ideas and her own politics.
Mm-hmm.
She is a character with a lot of agency in this movie, and I really appreciate that.
I do feel like, at the beginning of the film, the movie in general is just very in her head. Honestly, it's more her story for at least the first 2/3 than it is John Reed's. It kind of starts to focus on him a little bit more once he goes to Russia and they get separated, so they have to have different tracks. But it does, in the opening bit when they're in New York, she does kind of like feel like a dilettante, and I can understand why, even though we're in her head and we understand her emotions, I do understand why the people around her aren't taking her seriously, because she looks like she's not taking this seriously. Which is, is that fair? No, but
Well, I mean, that's I don't want to say that's also being in a leftist space, but that is being in a leftist space.
Leftists. How do I do the quote? Leftists and communists are natural enemies, just like leftists and anarchists, and leftists and socialists, and leftists and other leftists. Damn leftists! They ruined leftism. Someday I will find a time when I'm not quoting The Simpsons, but today is not that day.
Do we ever want to have a day where that's not happening? I certainly don't.
No, frankly, no, not really.
I'm an elder millennial. A majority of the things I say during the day are Simpsons references.
Simpsons references, Garth Marenghi references, deeply strange and off-putting things. That's the usual building blocks of a conversation with Ellie.
And we wouldn't have it any other way. But yeah, no, it's interesting because this movie is like, we're talking about the women in it, but we're like, yeah, it is like a movie by Warren Beatty, but I feel like the characters that come out being the most memorable it's Louise and Emma Goldman.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we've been sort of like talking about a little bit about the 80s, and let's not beat around the bush. The 80s were a shitty time to be a woman, especially in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Not that they're ever like a good time to be a woman in Hollywood, but like,
is there a good time to be a woman anywhere?
No.
Feel like that like pre Bronze Age Japan, where it was a matriarchal society, that was pretty nice.
All right,
go for that. Let's do that again. But like, I feel like it's you when you watch a movie from older than X years ago. I just did Black Narcissus for our previous episode, and you're sort of like, okay, this is a movie from the 40s about India, and you're sort of like, you're excited to see it, but you're also like nails in your seat a little bit, like, okay, just fucking show me who's in brown face already, okay? And so, like, you're sitting down to watch a movie in the 80s that has a woman in it, and you're like, okay, just show me how you're going to be weird about women. Let's rip that Band-Aid off. And I feel like that moment never really super came in this movie. I feel like it wasn't actually that weird about women, which is an incredible accomplishment for a movie from 1981.
Yeah, well, and again, going back and like watching older films, and this is why I tell a lot of younger people who come to my library or getting into movies, I'm like, no, go watch older movies, because in many cases they are going to surprise you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is there stuff that's incredibly dated? Yes, but there's other ones where it's like, wow, this holds up. I mean, a great example is Some Like It Hot was made in 1959.
I was gonna mention
that movie holds up better than something like Sorority Boys that was made like 20 years ago.
Honestly, we're not talking about Some Like It Hot right now for reasons that will become apparent very soon.
Oh, I know, but it's just this idea of I get the kind of bracing for impact, but it's also one where I don't know. I feel like I've kind of let go of that, and it's more like, well, if I see something dated, I'll be like, okay, when was this made? Yeah, well, but it's a nice surprise when you see movies that are older and you're like, oh yeah, look at that. But I feel like a lot of artists in general tend to be at least a little more empathetic and open to the human experience, so maybe that's why some of these older films like aren't as outdated as we anticipate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like honestly, we'll talk about some like it hot when we talk about it, but like I feel like there's a very good book by Susan Faludi called Backlash, which
Yes.
at least partially talks about how a lot of pushback against a group comes not when that group gets more rights, but when the people in power sort of recognize that they're about to, which is more or less what happened in the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
to queer people, to women, to non-white people. They realize, oh shit, our hegemony is about to be threatened in a real way. We gotta fucking put the boot to these people. And it didn't work, obviously, but honestly, there are times when, outside of movies, as a trans woman, I feel like there are times when I look at movies, except for movies made by trans people, where I'm like, we've gone fucking backwards in how we're portrayed. Fuck, we fucking handed the man who sank Tron Ares an Oscar for fucking playing a trans woman. Remember that? Remember that happening?
Jared Leto won an Oscar for playing a trans.
He did for Dallas Buyers Club. Live with that information.
Mistake upon mistake upon mistake for that.
Yeah.
Amelia Perez.
Ugh.
Enough said.
To give that movie a small crumb of credit, that at least starred a transgender woman.
It did. You know what? Bars in the floor, but y'all got over it. So, yeah.
At the end of the day, it was still Amelia Perez.
I know. Oh no.
It was still Amelia.
There is a queer trans narrative that should have been nominated for every Oscar imaginable, and that was called I Saw the TV Glow.
We don't get nice things though, Liz. We don't get nice things.
Yes, we do. Jane Schoenbrun's gonna adapt Black Hole.
And she's got a movie with the person our other friend in this podcast is named after.
Yeah.
Wait, did I just hallucinate an anecdote about how you were named after Gillian Anderson?
Yeah, nope. I did tell you. I did mention this
Okay.
last time I was on. Yes.
Yes, I was like, wait, did I just imagine that? Am I going crazy?
No. I mean, yes, you're gay, but also, sorry.
Fair. You know what? That is an accurate statement.
Who doesn't love Gillian Anderson, though? I don't want to meet the person that doesn't.
It would be nice if she picked better movies.
I know.
Gillian's got to eat.
Gillian does have to eat.
Yep, don't we all?
Yeah, I mean, like as I said, whenever I roll up a movie, I always like say, okay, I'm looking for someone I haven't seen it, because there is that rule that someone has to have not seen it, and I didn't need to recruit someone because I hadn't seen it, and I'm extremely happy that I saw this movie. I think that if you have, let's be real, if you have an entire second half of your day to devote to this movie, do it, or like, I don't know, maybe treat it like a 2-part miniseries. It's got a good stopping point for like. Speaking from experience, for like going and playing 6 runs on Hades.
The intermission is later than you think it is, but also...
I feel like between this and Around the World in 80 Days, I feel like intermissions are usually closer to the 2/3 mark than the halfway mark, if that makes any sense.
No, you're right.
Ah.
Because I was thinking about when is the intermission for this, and then I thought about Amadeus, which also I believe has an intermission, and a movie I saw within the past year, Edward Yang's Brighter Summer Day, which, my God, I'm so glad I did. That's another one where the intermission is kind of at like again, it's the not quite we're two-thirds of the way through, but it's more than halfway. Brighter Summer Day, you should see it. One of the greatest movies ever made.
I've added it to my list that will never end.
You'll never see all the movies, Ellie. I know that. We know. We'll try.
But I will try my absolute damnedest. Any final thoughts on Reds from either of you?
Well, I want to know what your idea of freedom is.
A mix, a trying to walk the balance beam between your responsibility to society and your personal freedom.
I think that's good. For me, it's just I would like for me and all of the people I know and love and just everybody to be able to live. To live and exist freely.
Oh shit, Gene Hackman was in this movie and we didn't.
Oh shit, god damn! This movie's got a stacked cast too. Also, Paul Sorvino.
Mm-hmm.
I said earlier, it's weird not seeing him in a Darren Lynn Bousman movie.
The fucking Jerry Harden, who played Deep Throat on the X-Files, is in like 2 scenes in this movie. It's nuts.
Good shit.
Liz, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Well, so again, as I work for a municipal job, I am technically sort of anonymous, so I don't really have any public social media, but I would just say support your local library if you can. Try to run for trustee. It's a very low commitment thing to do, but we need a lot of people to go and fight and make sure that book banners are kept at bay. Actually, I do want to plug a movie I saw really recently, which will likely be on my top 10 list for the year. It is a great documentary called The Librarians.
Ooh.
Yeah, I would see if your local theater is getting it, but it is mainly about Florida and Texas, but it is about the Moms for Liberty and just the push to curtail intellectual freedom in America, which, again, as a librarian, I put it as, we are supposed to have a wide variety of stories and viewpoints. There are thousands of books in my library that I would not read or have viewpoints I disagree with, but we're a library. We're supposed to have them.
Mm-hmm.
So go see The Librarians and support your library in any way you can.
Absolutely.
Also, protect queer people and queer kids, for fuck's sake.
Send me $20, yes. Gillian, do you have anything you would like to plug?
I'm Cutie Puppy Fire on most of the socials. Also, spay and neuter your pets.
Yes.
That is...
Spay and neuter your pets.
Oh, and as long as we're getting leftist here, donate to mutual aid, your local mutual aid fund, and donate to your local abortion fund.
Hell.
Absolutely.
As always, you can find me, Ellie, on Tumblr at Football in Tuxedos with dashes between the words. You can find me on Blue Sky, Medium, and Letterboxd at LSR42. And you can find this podcast on Blue Sky at Biggest Night Pod. We are available on both Spotify and YouTube. And if you follow us on YouTube, be sure to give us a subscribe, maybe like and comment on the videos so that you can tell me which parts you like and which parts you don't.
Thanks to both Liz and Gillian for coming out tonight. And I promise what's about to happen was not pre-scripted between me and Liz. I note that our last few episodes have been, Network, this, Black Narcissus. They've been a little heavy. So for the rest of the year, we're going to try to keep it a little bit more light. And again, promise you this was not prearranged. We're going back to 1947, or 1959 rather, for our next movie to see Some Like It Hot.
Wait, what the
Hell
hell?
yeah.
Have any of you heard of this Marilyn Monroe person? Never heard of her.
She is
hope to
much
see you
smarter
there.
than people gave her credit for.
I'm almost gonna go on a rant for a second because I watched it in film, like not in film, for a film class, and I was sitting in a discussion talking, most of the discussion was talking about, oh, this film's actually kind of problematic. Maybe Sugar should have had some agency. And I'm like, she's smarter than she is in the movie. It's not just because she's played by Marilyn Monroe.
Tune in for these and other insights next time.